As you've heard, a big issue for victims of sexual assault on campus is how they're treated once they report what has happened to them. To talk about that issue of campus justice, we're joined by Daniel Carter. He's director of the 32 National Campus Safety Initiative. He's been recognized as in Congress as one of the leaders in advocating more and tougher action against campus crime. Also joining us is Susan Burke, who is a lawyer and who has become a national figure in combating sexual assaults in the military.
Susan, you have seen the incredible explosion of sexual assault in the military, and one case that you are representing is a midshipman at the Naval Academy who allegedly got drunk or was gotten drunk and then was assaulted by 3 other of her fellow classmates. What is happening with that case now?
Well, what the brave survivor endured was really appalling. It was a lengthy hearing. It's called an Article 32. And we're dealing here with the military justice system, which is separate and different than what you're seeing on civilian campuses. And so this was a hearing that's not bound by any rules of evidence. And she was subjected to harassing and abusive cross-examination for no reason. They permitted it to go on so that she did 2 hours of direct, and she has no memory. I mean, she was substantially incapacitated. She was intoxicated. So her direct testimony was simply that she had no recall. She gave the few flashes that she recalled, no recall of any sexual assaults at all. And then they went on for over 25 hours on cross. And the military official that was presiding over it did absolutely nothing. And they asked her questions that had no relevance whatsoever as to what happened that night in question. They asked her about other consensual sexual encounters. They asked her, how wide she opened her mouth during oral sex. And it was the most abusive and appalling thing I've ever sat through. I was not permitted to participate in any way, and it was just egregious.
Well, that SAFER study, Joey, found that actually less than a third of all schools have policies that do not allow people to ask questions like that, to not ask a victim about prior sexual history or about how she was dressed at the time. Now, do you see this? Is it worse at the Naval Academy because of the military structure?
Well, I'm the most familiar. Obviously, I've been focusing my efforts on reforming the judicial system that is in the military, so I'm more familiar with that. But what I would say is that we heard earlier from Dr. Lisek is that you have that same dynamic. There's a small number of predators that are committing these crimes. The military has done a dismal job of identifying and incarcerating those predators. That is the same dynamic we see on the college campuses. All the focus is on the women, all the focus is on the victim behaviors, the victim vulnerabilities. We need to stop that focus and start locking these people up.
Daniel, you hear that too. Wait, did folks like hearing that? Yeah. Daniel, you do advocate for stronger prosecution as well. Is the solution, though, to turn over everything? For example, rather than the campus police engaging in any way, removing it from the campus environment and saying, look, if you report, we're going to take it directly to local law enforcement?
Well, no. In fact, federal law, the Title IX and Clery Act, require colleges and universities to have systems in place to protect their students. And the new Campus Sexual Violence Elimination Act, we feel, is going to do a lot to improve the flaws in the process that we've heard about tonight, so that the internal proceedings to support victims, to assure justice for both accused and accuser, will in fact be significantly improved. The Campus Save Act takes effect with the next school year.
But, so far in the Title IX cases that have been filed, a couple dozen at large, no federal funding has been removed from any of these universities. So how effective is that? Well,
the Clery Act offers a range of intermediate penalties, so a school can be fined, for example. So we feel that that's one way, but we also want to do this from the bottom down with consumer-driven information. The 32 National Campus Safety Initiative will equip institutions with tools to know how to deal with these issues through a self-assessment process, as well as educating students and their families about what to expect.
Well, because isn't one of the huge issues here is just how few of these cases go reported? According to some numbers, only 5% are actually reported to authorities.
That's correct. It's actually slightly less than 5% that are ever reported to any authorities. And we believe, as Annie pointed out, that those schools that do a better job of supporting victims, they're going to have higher numbers. So people need to know to look well beyond the numbers and say, do you have an office on campus that supports victims, that does primary prevention work? And my colleague who's in the audience, Connie Kirkland, was one of the pioneers of that 30 years ago, and that's what's critical.
Susan, on the service academies and the environment that originates there, I mean, that really is it's going to be a different thing. Can it be resolved through such Clery Act things that Daniel's talking about?
The Clery Act does not apply to the Naval Academy or to the other military institutions, so we really need everyone to speak up and support the reforms that Senator Gillibrand is pushing so that we can fix the military system.
All right, we'll take a break here.
All right, Susan and Daniel, thanks. So we'll be right back.